then you'll be able to play around with Classroom. So just know that it's one of the things that we're trying to get implemented for that first week of the 10th, but we are aware that you may not be able to play around or do much in Classroom until we get those homeroom lists set up. I am actually playing in what is called a sandbox, which is a fake account set up with fake students. So there's some aspects of this I'm not able to actually see or show you, but I wanted to give everybody the opportunity to log in to this so you could see it up close and personal rather than up on the projector screen. So, you know, I sent everybody a calendar link if you want to go ahead and log in there. For those of you who are just joining us, I wanted to let you know that if you have any questions, Ms. Cusack is monitoring the chat. She'll ask me to stop if I need to adjust anything. But beyond that, I'm basically going to be using the questions as an opportunity for after this overview to go through questions. Amy Gilberti, I set you up a separate one for you. So my sandbox is separate from yours. So we should be good. I won't mess anything up, I promise. Tomorrow and Friday, we will be doing this. So tomorrow's OnCourse. I'll be doing it as well as lower school will be doing a session for OnCourse. It's basically going to be a review of what happens today. So what you see today, Sue, if you go down to the bottom 3 dots, I'm going to present, Sharon. I'm just giving kind of an overview. If you go down to the 3 dots and go to settings, Sue, and then change your audio here to communication speakers, it'll go to the projector. I'm just going to give an overview. I'm going to show you what the sandbox is. We don't want a lot of people doing it as Amy Gilberti said, she created some stuff for her session tomorrow. So tomorrow you'll be able to sign up for an OnCourse. If this was completely, you want to see it again, that's level 1. Level 2, we're going to go a little bit more into the assignments and assessments and basically matching those standards so that you're reporting and the feedback that you're getting on those things, you're getting more information that will help you adjust your teaching and learning. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Some of you I know may have never logged into OnCourse yet, and that's okay. So I will be doing a session on Friday. For those of you who are not familiar with OnCourse or need a refresher, I am doing it for all new staff and teachers on Friday. If you shoot me an email, I can invite you to that particular session. On Friday, if you want to just get a refresher, or some of you who may not have used a lot of aspects in the classroom but want to be more familiar. We will not be going over Classroom in that Friday session for new teachers. We will be doing that in the virtual sessions on Thursday for level 1 OnCourse, either K through 4 and 5 through 12, and then Friday level 2 for K through 4 and 5 through 12. I know in 5 through 12 level 2, I'm focusing more on the assessment and assignment features. I believe in K through 4, it's going to be how you can set up those assignments and assessments to be used in classes, from what I've spoken to Amy and Carrie about. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So I'm basically going to drive and show you a few things. So you can't log into Classroom. Those of you who are just joining, it's not going to let you, well, you can log into Classroom to fool around with the creating of assignments and assessments, but unfortunately, you can't, your classrooms won't be built until schedules go live. And because of the assessments we're doing on the 5th and 6th, those homerooms may not be set until the 7th or possibly the 8th or 9th, and we'll send out an email when those are ready. A207. So everybody in your room can log in on their own computers if that's easier. They may want to see it up close and personal anyway. Okay, I'm going to present my screen now. And as I said, I'm not going to go through the basic features of logging into OnCourse. So once you log into OnCourse, this is the new view for the home screen. Thanks, Sue. This is the new view for the home screen, and I have very minimal things here that, like I said, this is a fake sandbox as far as that goes. We're going to be primarily focusing in Classroom, but I am going to show you a few of the other features. So if you go, when you go into Classroom, all of your classes and groups show up on the side. So the classes and groups are based on your schedule that is built into the scheduler like Michelle Aurelian has set up. So your classes will appear here. So in this particular class, I have, some fake people in here, but this is everybody who in OnCourse is enrolled in my English 1 course. So all of their names are here. Once we have ID pictures, all of their ID pictures will show up here, their grade level, messaging, whether it's allowed or not, and their role as students. So we will be setting up some PLC groups, some learning groups among us, and it will look kind of a little different. But for the most part, this is what it looks like in your view. So you can create, on the left-hand side, particular groups. So if you have students who are in one group that you may be assigning, this could be your SPED students, this could be your SPED modified students, you can create a group within a group. So I just go up to a new group, select whatever class. So we're going to make a new group in English. We're going to call this group the purple group or whatever. I don't suggest putting low and high in case kids can see your screens. And then you're going to select the students. So I'm just going to select John Dunn, and I'm going to select Timothy Ferguson. And then you can have it show the group name instead of student names, depending on how you have it grouped. So I'm going to click to show the group name instead, because I know that that's my purple group, and I'm going to click create group. So now on the left-hand side, you can see my English 1 class has this blue group, which might be my my modified session, and then my purple group, which might be ones that are in intervention and might get differentiated assignments. So that's this new group here. You're still in classes and groups. It allows you to show inactive and district groups. In the district, it may have some PLCs across schools, so those would show up here, but I wouldn't focus on the inactive ones. Going back to my class, and you can just click and toggle between the classes. When I'm in my class, I have the option to view the students or to view the shared resources. So shared resources is similar to like what you're going to put that would be in your OnCourse classroom. So like think of back of the old school days when you made websites. This may be your syllabus. This may be resources that you want the kids to have. It may be a short sheet on how you want them to set up their notes or whatever. To add resources, you're going to click on the Add Resources button. And you have the option, which doesn't help us a lot right now, but next year when the classes are archived, so at the end of the year when we do our rollover over the summer, all of your classes will immediately go to archive. Everything's saved. So you'll see as I'm going through this that there are many resources that you can pull from an archived class. So you don't have to worry about saving them or doing any backup. It'll allow you to pull that. This year we don't have archived classes, so you're going to click on Add Resources. These are the icons you're going to see consistently throughout this tutorial. So notice I have classes to share the resources with. You can add, maybe you have the same syllabus across all of your classes. You can add, say I want to add this to both math and English. You can remove them just by clicking the X and add them back just by typing in, and they start to populate at the bottom. The resources can be added from my computer. If I click that, I can upload something that I have saved in my documents on my computer. I have the option of OnCourse documents. OnCourse documents is kind of clunky, and we're trying to get away from using OnCourse documents, but you notice throughout this that you're going to have some documents that are uploaded strictly to what I would consider kind of like a Google Drive, but within OnCourse, but it's not as robust as Google Drive. So if something was saved into these documents, you may have stuff saved into OnCourse documents that you've gotten from, lesson planner or curriculum builder or whatever. But primarily, most of you will be using the My Computer. Click to Google Drive. If you use the single sign-on link to get into your OnCourse, it'll automatically link you to Google Drive. So when I click on this, this is I have to go through the process on this one because this is a play sandbox. If you have stuff maybe from a previous school or you use OneDrive, it also links to Dropbox. And hang tight, I have tech issues. Okay, and then we have the web link. So a web link can be any link from the web that you want to access here. Maybe this is in particular a resource that you want to use. Maybe you have a list of tutorials or something that you want them to do. So do a web link. So I'm going to first show you how to upload from your computer. So when you click My Computer, your My Computer shows up, and I'm going to add this discipline flow chart just because it's the most recent that I have. This could be any PDF, Word document, Excel spreadsheet, whatever you had in a file on your device. Did I see what? They don't need to be in on. Okay, so y'all don't need to be in OnCourse for this because I'm pretty much driving. The reason why I shared this with everybody is so they could see it on their screen really large. We're going to work on those who can't get in OnCourse between this afternoon sessions and Thursday and Friday. If you need assistance for that, I will be having a new teacher on Friday afternoon. So notice at the bottom, it'll show me that it's a PDF. If it was a Word document, it would show Word document on here. I'm going to now add something from my Google Drive. It's going to ask me to verify my Google Drive, which I've already done. So it's going to be pretty seamless. You shouldn't have to log in every time. And I'm going to just go and try and find a file from somewhere. Let's go here. So say I want to put this presentation, maybe this is my procedures, my list of procedures and so on and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and select this and I'm going to add it in here. When you're inserting stuff from your Google Drive, this is always going to come up regardless of what your settings are on the document. So you may have it set for everyone to view, but it's going to double check. OnCourse does this to double check and make sure that you actually want them to view the document. So it's going to give you this box that says some of your documents will not be available for viewing without requesting permission from you first. Would you like to share them so that anyone can view? You have two options. You can allow recipients view access, meaning when they click on it, it'll let them view the document. You can also, if you had something that you only wanted certain people to do, require recipients to request access. If you click this and you have 156 students, you're going to get 156 emails and you're going to have to reply that they have to get access. So for most of what you're going to be adding as a resource or things in here, you're going to want them to have view access. So I'm going to click view access on here. So now it shows up. It's showing it's a Google Drive document. And I'm going to go and find a web link. So I'm just going to go and take the web link to one of my presentations. So this is where I've created, and we're going to go over this a little bit more in Google Slides this later on this week. This is a Bitmoji of what my home looked like during the COVID, and they have clickable links on here. So the students may have clickable links. I know Ms. Binder, who's doing the lower school one, has one that's amazing. When you click on the links of the books, it actually takes you to the different books. So those are some ideas that you can get from Google Slides. So I'm going to put that in there, and I'm going to put list of links, and I'm going to add the link. So notice it lets you name it. So maybe it has this big old long name, or maybe it's this long shortcut. It lets you name whatever you want the resource to be. So I'm going to click add resources. Okay, so I'm able to go in and look at the shared resources. So notice I have here, I have my discipline flow chart, my new teacher division meeting, and the list of links. If I needed to remove any, there's this action button. You can view the resource in a new window if you want to see what it looks like. It'll allow you to download, or say you wanted to stop sharing that resource. So instead of deleting it because you wanted to stay in the archive, it just says stop sharing and it won't show up. Then I can toggle back and forth between view students and shared resources. Okay, so that's pretty much an overview of the classes and groups tab. Then if I go over to messages, and I'm not going to go a whole lot into messages because it's going to be different whether you're a second grade student or it's going to be different whether you're a second grade teacher versus a 10th grade teacher. In the messaging, you can over here, notice I can still click between my classes and I can create a new message. So this message is going to actually show up in the notifications. So I'm going to type or choose a user. So if I want this to go to a specific person, you could put a specific person, but right now I want it to go to my English 1 class, and I'm going to say, please check the resources for the presentations. Right here. Sorry. Please check the resources for the presentations. If you wanted to send this to somebody specific, you could start typing in a user. We're going to, I'm trying to remember who's in that class. John Dunn is going to get our little message here. The Bitmoji will be on Google Slides day 2, just in case anybody wanted to know. You can schedule it. You can schedule your messages. If you're typing a message, I know some of us may be up until 1 or 2 in the morning, or wake up at 4 a.m. because that's when you have time alone to do your things. You're going to want to schedule it. You don't want to send this to where it's going to be sending messages throughout the day. But since this is at 11 o'clock, I feel confident. You can also, when you send a message, you can add things in here. Maybe a kid missed a certain day and needs a copy of a worksheet. You can attach that here. Right now, we're going to go ahead and click post message. So it's going to show here any comments that I wanted to add if there was a conversation back and forth. It lets you filter to your posts, scheduled posts, calendar events, and any that you flag. Like I said, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time in here, but I am going to show you what it looks like on John Dunn's side when he gets a notification. And then I'll show you where you guys would get a notification. So I'm going to go ahead and, so right now I'm logging in as John Dunn, and this is what it looks like on the student side. And notice this little red bubble here. That lets me know there's a message. So this is what the classrooms look like. And obviously, once you upload your picture, and I'll show you where you can do that, your picture would show here as the teacher for English. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this. And then notice, my assignments that I have here are set up, my resources that I have here are set up, and my messages that I have here are set up. So notice this is the message. I'm going to click on the message. It comes up, please check the resources for the presentation. And as John, I'm going to reply, thank you, Miss Amy, and reply. So his shows up here. Notice the red communication box has now moved to the most recent in the chain that we have. So when I pop back over to here, at the top, you have this little bell that says My Notifications. If I go on My Notifications, I can see here that it says, thank you, Miss Amy. I can click on it. I can click on it. Hello. Yes.
Are you able to select multiple classes to share resources at once, or does each class need to be handled?
No, you can share resources across all classes. I'll go back to that. Let me go back to classroom. All right, so if you want to add resources, when you click on add resources, you just type all the classes you want to add it to. So say you have 6 sections of math or whatever, you can set it up to send the resources to all the classes at one time. Super easy setup. Yes.
How does this conversation appear in emails or only in Classroom?
So it's only in Classroom, but they do have an email feature. So notice at the bottom, it's also going to show up here. When you sign up for notifications here in the box, it lets you go to this settings area, and the kids would have to do the same. So I have it set to website, meaning when I'm on the site, I can see them. It's also going to send me an email, and I asked to have it send me a daily digest. So instead of sending an email every time, I want my daily digest to come to me at 6 a.m. So that's when I get my notification email from OnCourse. Then you can go into Classroom. So notice in Classroom, I have, so for general settings would be if a parent messaged me through the OnCourse system. In Classroom, I have only a notification system. So if I click on email here, when a student reports a message, I'll get an email. When they post a new message or reply, when a new resource is available so students on that end will be able to do that, or in your PLCs, or when a new assignment is published. Or you can choose a daily digest. So maybe I only want to receive an email when a student reports a message, but when they post a message, I only want to do a daily digest. So that's really going to be up to you. And what it's going to do is I haven't played around with it as far as we have no classes set up.
Ask everybody to turn the cameras off. Might move things, and we're seeing a lot.
Can everybody turn their cameras off? Please. Once you click Save Settings, those notification settings are changed.
While you're at a break, since students can use this for messaging, would admin prefer communications through OnCourse or Gmail?
I think it's best if you're going to communicate with the students that you send messages through OnCourse, since it'd be similar to how you did for Google Classroom. That way, if there's an ongoing thread and admin needed to look into it, they can see what's happening in your OnCourse classroom. So it's a little more transparent. Okay, so that's in the messaging session, and you can see here there are other messages here, some that are hidden. Evidently, Amy Gilberti, we are in the same sandbox, so I try not to mess anything up. Okay, in calendars, I'm going to kind of quickly go through this. You have a calendar for Discovery Schools, which is through OnCourse, which we're not really fooling with right now until they get their Google Calendar integration set up. You have your own particular calendar, which might have things on it based on what you put in the lesson planner. And then you have your calendar for each of your classes. If you click this, it lets you change the color. I would just like to tell you that that only changes the color on your side. So if you wanted all of your period 1 to be purple, you'd have to tell the kids to make it that way. So just know that it doesn't push out to the kids. But you can toggle back and forth. Notice I just turned off my English calendar. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back on. And you can just basically only want to see my calendar for English. So that's all that's showing. And anytime you create an assignment or an assessment, it'll show up here at the bottom, and it lets you click, and it takes you or the students directly to that particular assignment. You can create new calendar items. So when we went through the training, some possible ideas for new calendar items here might be if you're giving a paper pencil test, that won't necessarily be through this platform. However, I highly suggest using the assignments feature to do that, because you can actually, based on the way that some things go, you can actually adjust the assignments. The daily digest for messages, if you set it up, will include a daily digest of the options under messaging, under notifications. So it'll send you a daily digest, if you clicked it, of the assignments, any that are posted. Or if you click this, anytime a student reports a message, you'll get a daily digest of all the students that reported messages that day. So it's really, your daily digest is going to depend on what you've clicked. Okay, so from calendars. All right, so this is where the real stuff happens. This is the creation of assignments, similar to how we created assignments in Google Classroom. As those of you who are familiar with it, it's just done under this tab called Assignments. So here you're actually going to be creating whatever it is that you want the students to do. At the top, I am able to toggle between all my classes. I'm able to toggle between all marking periods. Excuse me. I'm leaving it at all marking periods for the sandbox, but obviously you want to make sure if you're setting an assignment that's going to be essentially possibly graded in quarter 2, that you choose the correct quarter. And then I have options down here. I can view all assignments. I can review active assignments, or I can view any returned assignments. So I want to go ahead and leave it as active. And I'm actually going to go to a different class because they have stuff in here going on. We're going to go in science. That's where I'm going to play. Okay. So at the top, you have this new assignment box. And you also have, notice the drop down, you can add an assignment from an archive class. So if you've created an assignment this year, you'll be able to use it continually in years by pulling from an archive class. We don't have that opportunity here, so I'm just going to go ahead and click new assignment. Okay, I'm going to go through this as slow as possible. I am going to zoom in to certain aspects. So what I'm going to focus on initially is what's on the left-hand side of the screen. So as you're going through, you have the name of the assignment. So we're going to call this biology. Okay. And then you're here, you're choosing which class it goes to. In this box, underneath the class that you chose, is going to be, if you had made smaller groups, you can assign this to just the purple group or the blue group if it was a modified assignment. And I'll show you that one after. You're going to set a due date. So I'm going to set this due date and I'm going to have it be this due date. I do suggest setting due dates. It allows it to go on the calendar. If you don't set a due date, it does not populate on the calendar. So here's our due date. Then you have some options under due date. So there's a drop-down box. You can mark submissions late. What this does is a student can still turn it in. A student can still turn it in on July 31st, but it will mark it late in both the OnCourse classroom, and if you have it populating to your gradebook, it'll automatically mark it late in your gradebook, which will allow that comment to be seen in OnCourse Connect by the students and or parents. You can have it not mark submissions late, meaning you're putting a deadline, but they can turn it in after with no penalty. You don't care if it's marked late. That might be for just some things that you're posting or notes for the week. This is the one I was explaining where I suggested not just adding stuff to the calendar. You can actually create an assignment that is no submission required. How many times did we create assignments in Google Classroom and the kids were supposed to go click to turn it in, but they were really answering something in their notebook, but we needed to click to mark it in that it was done. So if you're assigning something to the kids that says, read chapter 2 and answer the questions in your physical notebook, then you would do no submission required, meaning the kids will go there, they'll look at the assignment, they can see the due date, but it's something that they're going to do on paper, pencil, or something they need to be reminded to bring or to do, but they won't have to do anything to submit or turn in or add anything that needs to happen.
Will sped teachers be able to access regular ed teacher classes?
Yes. The question was, will SPED teachers be able to access? Yes, you'll be in, if you're a push-in, just like we've done in the past, your name is on the roster, you'll be able to view anything that's in the classroom. Okay. No submission required, reject late submissions. You can reject late submissions, meaning if on July 31st, they're trying to turn it in and it's closed, end of discussion, then it can reject the late submissions. It'll pop up on the side of the students that the submission time for this has passed, and it won't let them turn it in. That's not something that I would generally use unless it was like we did at the end of fourth quarter for the projects, and you're just going to get in a sticky situation if someone has extended time or extenuating circumstances, that it's going to reject it and you'll never actually see it. So that's not one that I would use, but it is there just so I can explain. And then you can have no due date. So no due date to me is, I had to really think about how I would use that. And once again, the lower school people will go over it if there's a time and a place for all these things. In a middle school, high school world, no due date to me, it doesn't show up on the calendar. The kids aren't going to see it. It's going to be, you know, kind of a struggle, but that option is there. So I'm going to have it to where it marks submissions late. And then if you want to schedule it, so you can prepare ahead of time. So we release it to you. You want to plan 2 weeks in advance. You want to schedule it. You can schedule it for when the students are going to be able to view the date and time. I'm not going to schedule this one, but that is available. Then you have this next option box to allow students to view the returned assessment. So if you are doing an assessment on this one, which we're not going to do for this one, but you want them to see it. Sometimes you'll give an assessment you don't want them to see because maybe you're going to reuse those questions, but I think it's really good to have a returned assessment. So if you're doing an assessment on here that the kids will be taking on the computer and you want them to see what they missed, And so that you can go over it in class. I'm thinking of Lisa Bonanno right now, how many times she wanted to be able to pull something up on the projector and go through each question, and the students would be able to follow and see which ones they missed as they're going over it. This allows you to do that. So one of the things I'll say, and I'll bring it up again when I get to assessment, is if you're gonna do that, don't mix the questions up, because it doesn't tell the kids right now. I have put in a feature request that it will bring the kid to the next one as you go, but or give you a guide to what they did, but don't mix up the questions if you want to be able to go through it whole screen in the class. But it does let you choose those options. If you're doing an assessment, which we're not going to do for this particular one, and you wanted it to be online only, you also have the drop-down option for online and print. This lets you print paper copies. I caution you, if you build assessments and say online and print, you cannot use technology enhanced questions in your assessment because they're unable to be printed. So just think about how you really want to approach that. If you have online and print, you can print them. It prints an actual assessment. It prints a Scantron sheet that you can scan and email to OnCourse, and they automatically populate the grades. That is a feature. Just know it won't be anything that's technology enhanced. It'll be pretty much multiple choice, true, false, anything that would be able to be filled in on a bubble sheet. The next option is add to Gradebook. So this function will only be able to work currently for grades 3 through 12 because we use actual grades. So if I wanted this add to the Gradebook, and I do want this one added to the Gradebook, I don't have any Gradebook set up outside of this, but I know I want this to be a formative assessment. And down here, I'm clicked on my quarter 1, marking period 1, formative, and then it lets me do scoring. Remember, if you use a check mark to score, and you're going to use check and X, if you're going to do a check mark, it has to be a non-calculated assignment. So maybe you want to mark whether they did it or not with check or X. It cannot be calculated in the grade because an X is a 0, and the lowest grade that we can give for an attempted assignment is a 55. So I'm going to go ahead and make this a high for 100, and then I'm going to move down. I want this to be calculated, and I'm going to include the due date in name. And I filled out everything on the left-hand side box. Let me go back to what that looks like. So all over here, this is in a drawer, what we call a drawer. So you can click this button to collapse the panel, or click this button to collapse the panel, and it goes to the side, and it becomes this settings bar. Now I have here everything that I have for my instructions. This would be where you type your information on what you want the students to do. So I'm going to have them read the prompt and answer me questions. And whatever you would put, remember to use correct spelling and grammar. Could I spell? Okay, you also have, this is a lot different than what we had with OnCourse. You can change this, you can underline things, italics, you can use strike through, you can change the text color. So I want to change this to blue, and then you can actually highlight. I want to highlight spelling and grammar. I can go through, I can highlight spelling and grammar, and it lets you add in these lovely emojis. You have all of these symbols that you can use, people, animals, and nature. We're going to put a tiger in there just to show you what that looks like. Then you have your attachments, very similar to how we added the resources before. I want to say that I absolutely can't stand this little videos at the bottom thing because it takes you to a different page. If you're doing any of these integrations, you're doing it still with these 6 things. All right, so I am actually going to include, let's see, we'll include a Google Drive link. So I want them to read a prompt and answer questions. So now I need to find, I'm trying to find something that I own so I know how it changes. I'm going to put this in here. Okay. So it's a Google Doc that I've entered. It's going to come up the same thing. Some of your documents will not be available for viewing without requesting permission from you first. Would you like to share them so anyone can view? So I'm going to allow recipients view access. When you're doing a Google document, at the bottom, you can see I have my Google workflow. I'm going to go ahead and include another Google Drive document because I want to show you the difference. Oh, that wasn't my document. That was Sharon Preen's document. It also will not allow you to add, if you only have view access to a document, it does not let you add it to if somebody else owns it. So you need to be careful of that on those. Where is something that this is good. Okay. Now I have my two that I have here. For this particular one, you have two options for a Google Drive. I have a Google Drive workflow and I have a resource only. So for this particular document, the Safe Schools, I just want them to be able to use this as a resource. So maybe this is their prompt that they're reading. So I've included their prompt here. When they click on it, it's going to be resource only. It's going to be view only module for them. It's going to come up similar to how you would send a PDF. On this one, I'm going to leave it as Google Drive workflow because that's where I want the students to actually type their response. So you want to leave that as the Google Drive workflow. We're going to go ahead and upload a few other things from here so I can show you how a couple things work. Yes. So the make a copy for every student is the Google Drive workflow. So they get their own copy for themselves. All right, I'm going to put a PDF in here. Notice when I put a PDF in here, I have this CAMI workflow, or the people in OnCourse call it CAMI, but I think that's a north versus south thing. I'm going to call it CAMI. You have the same thing, CAMI workflow and resource only. So I'm going to go ahead and include this as a CAMI workflow. I want them to look at the flow chart and add their comments to it. CAMI allows the kids to annotate or type over the screen. So if you have a PDF worksheet or a fill in the blank worksheet or something that you've created, maybe a map and you want them to color code it, or you've given them text and you want them to highlight one topic blue, another topic green, the CAMI workflow allows that. So, and then I'm done adding the things that I want to for here. Let me add one more PDF just so we can see the regular workflow. We'll go ahead and do this. Okay, so I did the same thing with a Word document. So it could be a PDF, a Word document, anything that's not a Google Drive document. And for this one, I just want it to be a resource only. So they're going to get it as a doc, as a resource only. So they're going to be able to download it. Because it was a Word document, it's going to choose to document. If it was a Sheets, it would do like an Excel spreadsheet. You have options at the top. If you want to create your stuff ahead of time and don't want to release it to the students, and you didn't use the schedule feature, say you just want to play around and make some assignments, you can just click Save Assignments. No one will be able to see them except for you. But I want to save and publish this assignment. If you click Save and Publish this assignment and you have it scheduled, it'll still go out on the scheduled side. All right, so I'm back into my workflow. This is the assignment that I've just created. It's active. Notice it's red because I have all of these students who have not yet taken it. It shows their grade, their name, and you can move these bars over as you need to. Yes, I sent out an email about single sign-on. They don't need a username and password, and it's their email. Okay. So in here, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip, let me show you these tools first. You have the options here with these actions. You can expand all the students, collapse all the students. You can message from here, advanced accessibility options on and off, block an assignment, unblock an assignment. Maybe a student is home and you really want them to be in class to take the assignment. They're homesick or something. You can block the assignment and then unblock it when they come back to school. You can exempt from lateness. These would be your students who get extended time. You can exempt them from lateness. You can remove the lateness exemption. If you gave them to a certain amount of time, then you can go back in and remove the lateness exemption. If you choose to exempt from lateness and you marked it to not accept late responses, it will exempt it will allow these people to submit. So that's a way to provide your accommodations for your extended time students. That's under the Actions tab. Then you have the opportunity up here to edit. Edit brings me back into my assignment. Then I have additional tools. I can duplicate this assignment. I can add to the assignment bank. I can export student grades, show dropped or transfer students, or I can delete this entire assignment. So we're going to go ahead and add it to the assignment bank. Once I add it to the assignment bank, because I have some folders that I've created in here, and you can create a new folder down here, I want to put this in shared because I am planning this with another teacher. So I'm going to go ahead and click in the shared, and I'm going to click add to shared folder. And we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. Yes.
If the assignment is from Flipgrid, how will it show on OnCourse that it's completed? It'll show yellow that they opened it.
I don't know. Let's do it.
While you're getting there, is there a way of permanently exempt a student from lateness for all assignments?
No. You have to do it on each assignment. See. All right, now let's go in to my student. Still in messages. Okay, now everything that I did here was in this science. So I'm going to click on science. And once again, they have resources, messages. They can go back to all classes. Let me show you real quick how you get to this view. That would be helpful. Under your gradebook, you have options of your gradebook where you take attendance, and then this button that says OnCourse Connect. If you click on OnCourse Connect, you can then find the school and or students that you have access to. And then once you click on it, it brings you to what the student can view. So it lets you look at what the students can view, and everybody has access to do that. And now it's not working. Okay. All right, so the assignment that I created is here. If you notice, both of these are bright pink. If this was something where it had passed, it would be gray. All right, so up here I have the instructions that I typed out for my kids. You can make the instructions go away or close. And then I have all of my options here. So this right here was that Word document that I uploaded for the kids, and I wanted it to be just a resource. So notice when I go in as a student, it just lets me download it to my device. So I can click on it, it'll click to download, it'll open up in the web browser. And then same thing here. Notice this is the Google document that I put up here just to view. Notice it's all blue instead of being colored. It's all blue, so it says click to view. So if I click on this, it's going to bring me to my Google Doc that's actually in PDF format. So it doesn't even go to the view only, like in Google Doc. It actually creates a PDF of the document. But it lets you switch and open it with Google Docs. Just know if they open it with Google Docs, it's going to be essentially creating a copy for them. So they wouldn't be able to adjust or view anything that you had on there. That being said, if you made any updates, that document, I attached it, they're not going to have the most updated if you made adjustments. If you made adjustments to this one, because it's a live link, it would. Okay, so we're going to first go, because they wanted to see Flipgrid. Let's see what happens. It's going to open it in Flipgrid. I'm gonna have to do that one separate on the Flipgrid thing. Let me check on that. Okay, so right now I have lots of stuff that's attached here. And essentially the only thing that I have here for the workflow is these 2 documents. So because you have 2 documents, just know that the submissions are gonna be for both documents. So let me show you what that looks like. So this is the one that I was gonna open. It's gonna be connecting to my drive.
Usually if it's like that, like submit button, it'll mark it as done, but I don't know if it's graded. So when they open the PDF, it's yellow, and then when they submit it, it's green.
I don't think it's gonna work like that for Flipgrid.
Right.
Yeah.
But it would show yellow if it was blue.
Yeah. Okay, so this is where I wanted them to type their document. I don't want to put it on this particular document, but this is where I would be. It doesn't do like Google did by put the name behind it. So this is going to be a copy that's in their own. I can't show you how this looks, but just like how Google Classroom created a classroom folder in your drive, once you link it with your drive, it creates one. And the kids will have the same thing. It'll say classroom, I think OnCourse classroom, and then they have a folder for each one. So all of their stuff is going to go in there, but it doesn't put their name because it's kind of central to them. And when you're in OnCourse, you're going to be able to see how it goes on there. Okay, so notice here, it says that I started. Okay, so I opened it. You can see when the student opened it. When they started the assignment. And then when I submit, it's going to submit everything all at once because there's multiple documents on here. I'm going to go to this discipline flow chart. This is my CAMI. So what I've attached here is a PDF for the students, which happens to be the discipline model. Thanks, Dr. K. And then you have these options on the side when it opens in CAMI. And this is free. I know we end up having to do paid CAMI last year for some people, but this is free and it's part of our integration with OnCourse. So it automatically opens for the kids. They can go to the hand tool, select annotations, dictionary. They have text to speech, which is great for our students. You can have markup tools, comment tools, text box, equation boxes, drawing tools, all kinds of fantastic things. So I'm going to go ahead and do the markup tool. I'm going to choose a box highlighter, and it's going to basically highlight these things. Then I'm going to add text boxes, and I want my text to be blue, and it's going to create a text box. I think this is great. If you had lines where you wanted the kids to input text, they just click a text box, click on the line, and type in the answer to the question or whatever. Once they're done here, their options are they can print, they can download it. It will ask them to download with the annotations and not. I am working on some issues with this with OnCourse. It does let them restore their annotations or switch to view if they want to restore. If they realize they did the whole worksheet wrong, they could restore the annotations and they would go away. All right, so I'm going to click close. And notice it tells me here, I opened this and I started the document at this time. So it'd be the same as it would be for the Google workflow. So then as a student, I'm going to, any comments that happen down here, I really like this assignment. Okay, then I'm going to click turn in. If you had set this to not have a submission, it would not have a turn in button at the bottom. All right, so it tells me a little green box popped up. It says successfully submitted. And then at the bottom, I can open this to see the turn-in history. All of this stuff got turned in on this particular date. If they wanted to do something like turn it in again, this is different. They don't have to ask because they own the documents. It doesn't get the transfer. The ownership does not transfer to you ever. So you don't have to do the returning the documents to the students and then having them fix it and then resubmit. Essentially, you could have made a comment here to have the students go and add more than the 2 sentences they typed about the writing piece, and they would go in, they would click in the document, they would add anything that they wanted to add in, they would close it out, and then they're going to go back into their OnCourse here, and they're going to click turn it in again. Successfully submitted. It reloads the page. I go down to my turn-in history. I can see that these things were turned in here and these things were turned in at this time. So it'll keep a continual flow of how everything went through. Yes.
For Google Docs and slides, can we see if the student has shared it with anyone, like have access to progress?
Okay. So the submission text is the comment that was added, and you can actually print that out and save them if you need to for whatever reason. All right, I'm going to go back to the top. If I'm in this doc, let me show from the, y'all really want to know from the teacher side. So let me go back as my teacher. Okay, so this is John Dunn in science. I'm going to go back to classroom. I'm going to go to my assignment and then refresh my page because clearly that is what's happening. Okay, go back to classroom, science. I'm going to go to my assignments. Now notice it's yellow. So what this means is I have one submission or one that's in progress and 19 that aren't in progress. So it goes down. Now notice this wasn't an assessment that we had to auto grade, so it's going to show up as you actually have to put the grades in. So I want to see, now notice it shows here 2 submissions. So when I click on this, the 2 submissions, it opens up in the assignment grader. So this is very similar to kind of how Google Classroom had this. Notice my assignment, Kami automatically opened up from my discipline flowchart because that was my Kami interface. Up here, you can toggle between your classes, the assignments, between your students, and between their submissions. So this is one of 2. So then as a teacher, I could give feedback here. I could mark it up. I could do text to speech. You have all the same tools as the kids have. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a big old check mark on this here and good to go, whatever. I'm going to put not this grade here because there's 2 assignments is going to be for the whole thing. So don't grade just whatever grade you give is for the assignment. So if you wanted these to be 2 separate grades, you would have need to separate out these 2 into 2 different assignments. All right, so now I'm going to toggle and I'm going to go to, now notice I have my different submissions. So I can still look at what the kid changed between the 2 submissions. All right, so I'm going to go to my virtual learning summit session, which is my original submission. Now, what I'm getting is a PDF snapshot of what that assignment was at that time. So when the kid changed the stuff on the document, I have both of them here in PDF snapshots of both of them. So I can see if they changed it, remove stuff, whatever. I have all of these amazing tools. Text prediction, hover over speech, dictionary, picture dictionary. It'll read the page to me if you wanted it to. Audio maker, if you wanted to record, hey, I think this is a great writing piece. I really wish you would do that. You can click on the audio maker. And then we have these other text tools. So I'm just going to go ahead and hide those for now. Okay. Gives you this option up here to open the Google Drive document. I'm working on the question about, can you see the history of the kids? That's what I'm working on now.
No. Can you see, there was a Flipgrid link under those 6 options?
Yes.
What happens when you use that? Is that another way to add external platforms?
So when you're adding anything externally, you're using that link button, those things at the bottom that says link with Flipgrid. It's basically showing you all you have to do is go through this. It's a video showing you how to get the link to put into the web link box. Like I said, I wish they would take all that away, but I digress.
And, can each class have more than one teacher, lower school question based on the pods?
Yes, we're working on that. I don't know who asked that. Okay, yes, we're working on that. All right, so now I'm in the Google Doc. So just like you can any other times in Google Docs, you can go up here to the version history and you can look at the version history and you can go and see if anybody else was on this doc or collaborated with this student on this document. I think that answers that question.
Can they check for plagiarism in OnCourse, or would it still be Google?
That's what I just did. That's what I just did.
Okay.
What you're getting in here is a PDF snapshot. So if you want to see if the Google document has been shared with anybody else, it would have to be through this open Google Drive, just like we always did with the Google Docs. Okay, so I've looked at all of this kid's grades. That's not what I wanted to do, but glad that it shows me that option. I want to type in a grade, so I'm going to give this kid a 90. And then if I right click, which is what I wasn't trying to do before, you can actually mark it as missing, late, incomplete, other, second chance grade. We're going to get into that later. For now, we don't have second chance grading turned on yet. There are custom colors if you have certain other colors that you have that you wanted to remember. But I'm going to go ahead and mark this. I'm not going to mark this with any, but let me show you how it looks. I'm going to put incomplete because I asked the kid to go back. Why not? You can add any teacher comments here. This is going to go into the comments for the assignment for the student in the gradebook, as well as he'll be able to see it on his end. You need to write more. Obviously, you would give much better feedback than this, than what I'm giving. Okay, so it is, everything is there. All my documents are at the bottom. My grade is here. I'm going to X out of the box. It is live. So Mr. Dunn has a 90. The comment is here if I needed to go back and adjust my comment. And notice now it went from yellow to green. So I have one student who's graded, 19 not submitted, and if there were any other yellow ones in there. So now I'm going to go to my gradebook. This is science class. So I'm going to go to my science class, and then I can go down to Mr. Dunn. He got a 90, and notice it marked it as blue. Let's say I accidentally left that color, so then I can clear the color here if I wanted to remove it, or maybe it's not late and you took it or whatever. So that information is there. I'm going to go here to show assignment comment, so you can see that's where the assignment comment goes. So anything you put on the assignment comment is going to go onto the assignment column. Thanks, Julia Mott. I got my text. Okay, going back to classroom. Next is the assignment bank. If you remember before, I added this assignment to my assignment bank and I put it in my shared folder. It's this biology environmental. So I'm going to actually right click on this folder. And unfortunately, there are no humans in this other sandbox with me, but oh, I do have Carrie now. Oh, so let me see. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do permissions. So I want Carrie Carmadel, thanks for playing with me, Carrie, to be able to access this shared folder because we're planning together. You have the option of read, create only, write, no delete, write, or full. Okay, so I want her to be able to write things into this document. So I'm just going to leave it. And then I'm going to close this. I'm going to click close. And then now when Carrie goes into her assignment bank, she's going to have this folder. She can have a folder with my name on it. When she opens it, she won't see this one that says science department. She's going to see the folder that's shared because I haven't shared the science department with her, but I did share the shared folder with her here. You can also here add assignments. So you can do it directly from here to add new assignments that are going in there. So that's what the assignment bank is. You'll have to create assignments and share them if you're going to be doing it like with, you want other people to be able to see what you're doing. Essentially, if you wanted them to be able to utilize the same assignment for their class or kind of make adjustments.
If you're using Google Forms and you're grading and it brings it over to the gradebook, you have to override 49.
Yes, you're going to have to override any auto-graded assignments and assessments to be 49s for the lowest non-attempted assignment and 55s for the lowest attempted assignment. And that's with anything. Even if you do an assessment that's auto-graded, you're going to have to go through and do that. I would love to be able to write code to make it do that, but there's just so many variables in that. You have a rubric bank and performance bands. We're going to focus a little bit more on those in the OnCourse level 2. Rubric bank is going to allow you to create rubrics that you use for assessment. So if you use the rubric Bank in OnCourse, in Google Classroom, it works very similarly. It allows you to grade the assignment based on a rubric instead of an assessment or assignment, or just typing in and grade. Performance bands are going to be created by division heads of administration that allow you to link performance bands so that you can look at how well your students are doing as far as when we show data.
And the SRNI.
The SNRI will be a rubric. Raquel is working and Karen Bender are working on those to figure out the best way to include rubrics. Teachers will have the ability to create rubrics. I have to make those changes in OnCourse, and we're having difficulty with the OnCourse system as far as that goes. Okay, I'm going to create another new assignment, and I'm going to do this in the English class. And we're going to call this assessment because I'm going to show you a little bit about the assessment. And I'm just going to leave everything else over here and make this summative, add the gradebook. Other than that, everything is the same. So my instructions are going to be do your best on this assessment. Okay. You could attach anything that you wanted to here, but I'm primarily focusing on this as assessment. So when you go into the assessment, you're using the assessment, and notice my drawer closed. I can click on here to open my drawer. I call it a drawer. I don't know what it's called. They have items here. You have an item bank, but you can also create ones on your own. So when I get to the OnCourse level 2, I'm going to really kind of focus on the item banks for math and ELA. Today, I'm going to kind of show you a little bit about how you can add your own items in. So we're going to click add an item. And notice it shows up here as an empty item. I have settings here, which allow me to have different columns. Say I had text on the left and I wanted to have multiple choice on the right. You could choose that. So let's go ahead and choose the 60/40 and then apply. So here on the add new, it lets you choose from all of these different types. So this is commonly used multiple choice. This is, sorry, that was commonly used. This is multiple choice. Notice it has multi-select, matrix inline, choice matrix labels, classify, Jesus, fill in the blanks. So this allows you to fill in the blanks either with a word bank here or a drop down or typing text in a box. Drag and drop labels, which would be really cool for geography and like, I don't know, science, anything. And then label image with drop downs. So you have drop downs available to them, or label image with text where they have to type in the text. Classify, match, and order allows them to drag and drop with grid in 2 columns. This is a match list, like matching. Order list, put them in the correct order from highest to lowest. A sort list. Then you have written and recorded. So I'm actually going to, I'm going to choose a written recording. They have highlight, math, graphing, charts, chemistry, other, annotation uploads, grids, fill in the shapes, all kinds of fancy stuff. I'm going to actually go to features, and you have protractors, rulers, images, you can put a scientific calculator or a regular calculator onto your assessment, an audio player, and then you can put a passage, and then a video player. So we're actually going to do a highlightable passage here, and I'm going to do test because I don't know what I'm going to type. And then I'm just going to go and find text. This will be good. We're just going to grab this text and pretend like this is all of my text that I want for my passage. I did it only because I only highlighted one section. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, so this is my writing prompt. Notice I get all these amazing tools. So you can make bulleted lists, numbered lists, you can put things bolded, underlined, add pictures. You can actually add audio, anything that you want on there. If you're fancy, you can go into HTML source, and then there's more options at the bottom. So there's this, I haven't got a whole lot of information on how we can adjust select styles on here. So I have more information coming on that. Okay, so we're just going to leave it as it is. This is my passage. So I'm going to go back. Oh, yes, cancel. There's my option to cancel. Do you want me to save? That's what you want me to do? Great. All right, so notice my, I'm gonna go ahead and close my drawer here. This is my text. Here's my edit box. I can delete it, or I can, I'm gonna go ahead and add my multiple choice on the side. So we're going to add multiple choice, and you're just gonna compose your question. I don't know what my question is gonna be. These are my multiple choice options, da-da-da-da, blah, 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 and da-da-da-da. You can also add if you have multiple ones, whatever. Then down here, you're gonna choose the point value. So I want the point value for this one to be 2 points, and this is the correct answer. If there's multiple responses, you're gonna click this. If you wanted to shovel options, so it's different for every kid, you can do that. There's also more options at the bottom. You can have it be unscored. So this came up in our training with the trainers. If you wanted this part unscored or just for practice, you could leave this unscored. The check answer button, they have penalty points. If they want to check what the answer is, they lose a point. Maybe you give 2 points full for it, and then they get the check answer button and then not a full amount. So then you also get exact match, partial match per response, or just partial match. I want an exact match. They have all of these additional, you can also give them a minimum score if attempted. So if they attempted it and got it wrong, you can have it be a certain points. Yes.
It's kind of combined. Can they upload Google Forms as an assessment, or will they have to make it in OnCourse?
Repeat that. I didn't get that.
Google Forms, or do they have to use OnCourse?
You can use Google Forms if you want to. To me, the assessment portal automatically goes to your gradebook and automatically grades it for you. I know it's kind of a setup at the beginning, but to me, it's more robust. And if a kid gets locked out or gets sick, unlike in Google Forms where they have to start all over, you don't have to do that with assessment. I know it looks like, because I'm taking a little while to go through it, but you could literally put your old Google Forms next to it and just like copy and paste as you start building these assessments. Remember, you can also put these in your assignment bank as assessments that you've used, and the data from this is going to be better. So if you link standards to this and you're going through, or it's going to show you the number of kids immediately in a picture graph on what that looks like.
So if they use Google Forms, the grade will not be automatically transferred.
Correct.
And Ms. Payne did put in the comments that she would like us to move to using assessments in OnCourse.
Thank you. Okay. What that does is when you have an assignment in here, any of your administrators or anybody can go in and see, and we have amazing reporting. If you're doing it in Google Forms and not an assessment, it really is difficult for people to see what your assessments are unless they're like, it's just easier to me. I like this feature. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull it up as a student. But at first, I want to give him, he gets read aloud. So I'm going to go find my student. We're going to use John Neal this time. I'm going to check him. I'm going to go up to my actions, and I'm going to click Advanced Accessibility Options on. So I've turned it on. This little guy appears. So John Neal, when he gets it, is going to get the read aloud. So now I'm going to go into John Neal to show you what it looks like. Oh, OnCourse, why do you plague me? Okay, that was, I think I did that in math. Okay, so notice this says math assessment. It's here. I click on it. So I have my instructions. Oh, this might be one that I did not make. I did that in English. Sorry, Carrie. Okay, this is it here, assessment. Haha. Do your best on this assessment is the instructions I gave. And notice it says take assessment, click to start. If the students are using a Chromebook, which everybody but 10th and 11th graders will use, this will lock down once they start the assessment. Whether they are at home or not, it will lock down. The other 10th and 11th graders will be different. More information to follow. So notice I'm in the assessment. It says, do your best. The instructions show up. And this toolbar at the top, this is my accessibility toolbar that the students who have read aloud get. I got a play button, pause, a stop. I have highlighter. It also has screen mask as well as other options. So I click start. And here's my text that I copied and pasted in. I'm going to click my play button. And I'm going to click where I want the text to start.
English 01, John Neal. Grade level groups will access the Zoom or Google webinar access from all campuses.
Okay. So then I'm going to answer my question.
SKCNHL.
Stop talking to me. Then you have these options. You have response masking. So say, you know, I know lots, it's not this answer and it's not this answer. You have the review, which will bring you to the end to review, which is also down here. You can flag this option. So I'm gonna go ahead and flag it. And then I'm gonna go ahead and click review. If you had multiple ones, notice I had a flag. If you had multiple ones that were here, there'd be multiple questions and you could go through. I'm gonna click finish. All questions have been attempted. Do you want to submit? I'm gonna say yes, and I'm gonna close it. Now I'm gonna go back into my classroom and I'm going to refresh this page. And I'm gonna go into, I'm in my English classroom. I'm gonna go to my assignments. And the one that's labeled assessment is right here. I'm gonna click on it. So I have one submission automatically done, automatically graded. So I'm gonna go down and I'm gonna see here, and I notice he got a 0. So this is one that I would have to change to a 49. This little button shows that it's auto graded. So it's gonna automatically grade it. But once I type in, oops, not 49, my 55, it's there, it changes it, and the color goes away. Okay, so here it says it was submitted on time. And then you can sort all of these columns too. And then my submission. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on the submission. It brings me into the assessment. Same thing. I can go grade by item or I can do grade by assessment. So I have the student's answer here and I can add feedback. So I can say, please pay more attention to the key words. And I'm adding that feedback in here. Automatically, nothing you have to do to save, it's automatically there. I could go back and forth to my other students because there's no submissions for here, I don't have any. When I X out and go back, I can see down here my submission. So if I go back to Mr. Neal, this Mr. Neal, okay. The assessment was completed. I must not have clicked it to where they could view it. So notice the assessment's completed. So he cannot view it unless you have given permission for them to view the assessment after. So this would be like if you didn't give them permission to view the assessment. All right, real quick with the, I know I'm like going to be a couple over, but I want to show you what the, what this looks like as far as in the performance bands. So let's see. Going back. So this lets you toggle between. So I only want to see the ones who didn't submit, so I can make the one who submitted go away, or the 19 that didn't submit and just focus on this one here. So for this assessment, I have assignment live progress. I can click on this, even if they're taking it at home, and it shows you all of the gray are people who haven't taken the assessment. I haven't even opened it. If it was, I think it's yellow, it would show that the student was in the assessment, but this one shows green. So you can see this when you're in there. You can pause it, resume, extend time if you want to extend the time, if you made it a timed assessment. And I'm going to go more into the assessment pieces when we do level 2. So I'm going to go back here. We have other tools, access codes, which we don't need because they're automatically logging in. You can add to assignment bank, duplicate. I want to look at the assessment report. And this is the reporting we were talking about. So we're going to use the default performance band. And obviously there's no link standards. So if a question had been linked to standards and we were using from the item bank, you'd be able to see this versus standards and not standards. Now, obviously this is a performance band that was in there. This student falls far below. He's the only one that answered, but you can see how many males, the ethnicity, special ed status, economically disadvantaged. You can view by mastery. You can see all the students that mastered it or not. And you can also view tabular data. So this is him, he's non-mastered. Well, we can go through. It also gives you item analysis. So this one only had one question and it wasn't linked to anything, but you can see this was his answer was D, and it was red if it's wrong. They have others. Let me go into a different assessment. Like 1 minute. I'm literally just going over the let me use this one.
Question.
Yep.
When you say the Chromebook is locked down during assessment, you mean they can't access any other sites, right?
Correct. If it's locked down on a Chromebook, they can't access any other sites.
Do we need to read aloud for each assessment, or can some kids automatically get it every time?
Currently, it's built to where you have to give read aloud to every assessment every time.
And Sabrina wants to know, we want to make sure we don't have tons of different bands, are we able to push out district performance?
Yeah, we're the only ones who can touch bands, Preen. It's me, you, and the division heads. But I think you're the only one who has write access. We can look at them and create them. But what's going to happen is we're going to use bands, and you're going to have one that says LEAP band in case you're creating a LEAP-like assessment. And then you may have one that's what we call the default performance band based on our grading scale. Does that answer your question?
She said if it's showing standards mastery, could that make the indicators autofill?
But I love the thought.
That's truly not a great.
Yeah. I love the thought. If it was standards based, it would fill in a standards based report card. Julia, I'd like to pick your brain on that and see what we can send to OnCourse to get that rolling.
When it's locked down, but they already have tabs open, can they click over, or what will happen?
It goes full screen. So when you're in the lockdown and they have other tabs open, essentially the assessment goes full screen and it doesn't matter. They can't get anything until they submit the assessment.
And what if the kid has other combinations but not read aloud?
For example,
Mr. Jamari.
Mr. Jamari, what is an example of a combination that you need to see?
He didn't reply yet, but Christina said, can you link standards after you make the assessments and before you publish the grade?
Yeah.
She said like highlighting.
I've asked for the feature of highlighting to be removed from the accessibility and be put for everybody to be able to highlight. They told me that it's in development, but they're working on COVID-related updates. So I'm assuming it'll be sometime in the fall where every student will be able to highlight. Because I basically told them that shouldn't be an accessibility feature. Every kid should have access. It becomes the difference between an accommodation and an accessibility, personally. Okay. Oh yeah, if I wanted to change it. Okay, so I'm going to go back into my English assignment. So here, over here, go to details. Is it details? They have all these other fancy things you can do. I leave them as default once I've set them. Why? Okay, so the little flaggy thing, next to the question prompt, you're just going to go through. I'm in Louisiana standards. We're not going to be kindergarten though. We're going to pretend like we're in 7th grade. Louisiana student standards, to say I wanted these and these. They show up at the bottom. These are the linked standards. Okay, and save. And save, just in case. Now I'm going to go back into my reporting for this assessment, because I definitely forgot to do that the first time. And notice I have now the standards. And if you could see the difference in why the standards, you can now go by standards. You can update the standards filter. You can view by mastery. Standards analysis here allows you to see by the standard. So instead of item analysis, you can see the standards analysis here on there. And then the really cool thing is, where am I going? You can export these things over here. And you can download the standards proficiency report on how students are progressing in proficiency. If I go back and find my kid who did this and then check his name, I can print. No, that's not what I wanted to do. Notice here, if they're in the assessment, you can reopen an assessment, or if a student went too quickly, you can delete results and restart. That was one I didn't show you guys. I can't figure out where the print thing is. I will figure it out once I'm not on this, of course. Okay, it's fine. All right, does anybody have any other questions? I know that was a really, really, really quick overview, and we will be repeating that same overview tomorrow, addressing any of these concerns on here. And then on 2, I'm going to go really heavier in the assessment portion. It does not currently show them how long it took to complete it. That is a feature request I've also asked for. All right, guys, go enjoy your lunches before you have other stuff to do. Sorry, I went 8 minutes over. There is no way for you to follow along on your computers because we don't have the classroom. So that's why I'm recording everything, so you can kind of record it and view over it after. We will be able to play a little bit in the assessment features. So if you come to the OnCourse level 2, when we're in assessments, you actually can create assessments either in the assessment portal or through the assignment portal. So we can kind of play around with the assessments that way. The assessment portal that we can play in is primarily math and ELA content at this time. All right, y'all. Have a good afternoon. No. Wait, Van Geffen, I'm trying to get to the chat box. Hold on. I probably would not have the video on and recording while you're taking an assessment. I mean, to be honest with you, they could have their phone on the side of the camera and you wouldn't be able to tell. So what we really need to think about is the way that we set up our assessments, that we're asking them those higher order questions so that anything that they'd be able to Google would be some recall questions, but not primarily how to apply that information into other content. We can chat later. All right, y'all, I'm gonna stop recording and I'll hang out here if anybody has any additional questions.